All right, everyone. Welcome into our late night edition of National Signing Day special here at the Voice of College Football. We've been with you throughout the day, starting at 11 a.m. Eastern Time with various National Day signing reports, and of course, our 3 hour block of Michigan, Florida State, and Miami that we just concluded on the Hurricanes channel. So check out all those reports on the various channels. So we've got Zachary Neal on the line from Ducks Wire to break down an eventful day. I think that's how you termed it, Zachary, and that was certainly dead on concerning what Dan Lanning and his staff were able to pull off today. So we appreciate you stopping by.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm happy to be able to come and chat with you. It feels like the eventfulness kind of toned down a little bit over the last hour, so it feels like a good time to actually be able to come on and talk about what happened.
So let's start with the big flip that occurred this morning from Notre Dame in safety Peyton Bowen. There's not a whole lot of five stars walking the planet. So when you can flip one of them, it's a big deal.
Yes, and it was not one that many people were expecting. I mean, the Ducks have been recruiting him very hard over the past week or so, but I think anyone that follows recruiting knows that it seemed like it was coming down to Notre Dame or Oklahoma, and the Ducks were probably looking like they were going to get third in that running with Oklahoma or with Notre Dame probably holding him. And then going into it, I saw that he only had the Oregon and Notre Dame hats in front of him, which I thought was a little bit interesting. I don't know. I had a good feeling in my stomach. I told one of my colleagues, I was like, I don't know. I feel really good about this. I couldn't tell you why. And then he put on the Notre Dame hat, threw it aside, put on the Oregon hat, and it was a shock. I was shocked. I know that we talked to Dan Lanning earlier, and he didn't specifically say that that was a surprise to them, but he kind of alluded to the fact that, yeah, we feel good about going into most of these, but sometimes they're surprises. We like to get those. One interesting thing about Bowen is he is still yet to send in his national letter of intent. So he's not been officially announced by the team yet. So there's some rumblings online. I know there's a report from Rivals out there that there's still talks going on that this may not be a completely done deal, which I know Oregon fans definitely don't want to hear that right now. But as far as I know, he's going to be a Duck. They got him committed, and he's excited to be in the program. And we'll just kind of wait and see when that NLI comes in. And I know Oregon fans are very anxious to see it come in.
Good. Zachary Neal on the line from Ducks Wire, talking up the Oregon recruiting effort. Of course, the first National Signing Day, and this has become the National Signing Day here in the last 3 or 4 years. And one signed letter of intent out of 23 that they did get was, of course, Mateo Uiagalelei, and that another enormous get.
Yeah, that one was honestly pretty surprising too. I mean, last night I think it started to happen late. I was covering an Oregon basketball game last night and sitting alongside some other reporters, and we started to see some of the crystal balls and predictions come in for the Ducks to land him, and it was like, oh my gosh, this actually might be happening a little bit because his whole recruitment, it was between Ohio State, USC, and Oregon, and the Ducks never really felt like they led that recruitment. At best, they were maybe second. Most of the time they were third, with usually Ohio State or USC kind of flip flopping for that number one spot. And so the fact that, late night, last night, it kind of came in that he was leaning towards the Ducks. I don't know if that has stuff to do with NIL deals or what happened that kind of changed that recruitment. But it was interesting. And even though we got the predictions in, I don't think a lot of people felt solid that it was, locked in on Oregon. It was still kind of like, all right, this can change a couple more times before he actually signs. But, it happened. I think it was announced less than 5 minutes after Peyton Bowen made his flip. So I was busy covering and still kind of going crazy about the Peyton Bowen news. And then the Mateo news came in too. So it was a very wild time in Oregon sports.
Dan Lanning, of course, personally is in a much different place right now than he was at this time last year when he was running back and forth between Athens, Georgia, and Eugene, Oregon, and going back and forth, flying back and forth, and trying to coach a defense and pull in a recruiting class and close. But that, I guess, closing would be the only staple between the two cycles. Was he gets the Oregon job and he closes well there, and he's doing the same thing here where he's got that full recruiting cycle. So in covering this Oregon football team and Dan Lanning, do you have any insight into what makes him such a good closer?
I'm not sure really what it is. Like you said, I mean, last year he was officially hired on December 11th, and I believe that signing day was on December 17th. So he had less than a week to kind of get that class in order. And they didn't make a ton of signings. They got a few key recruitment or commitments in that first day, but they really made waves on the February signing. But we talked to him today and he said that, the biggest difference between last year and this year is just the amount of time that we've had to build these relationships. And that's what he's always been so key about. I mean, he says that you can give the recruit all the money they want and tell them about the system they're going to play in and the playing time they want. But what it really comes down to is relationships and having a bond with these kids and actually getting to know them and getting to know their parents. And I think that may be why so many kids want to play for him, why he's been such a good recruiter at every stop that he's gone to, is he's really a man that cares about the relationships he builds and the kids that he gets to know. So I know there's a lot of things that go into it. I'm sure having that Oregon O on your chest and having, the Nike CEO in your back pocket doesn't hurt the recruiting aspect at all. But in the end, he's, he's a guy that just really connects with the kids that he wants to bring into his program.
All right, Zachary, we appreciate you stopping by, breaking things down for us. And Oregon, do you expect anything else to happen between now and the first Wednesday of February and the second signing day?
There's still definitely a few dominoes that could fall. The number one, I know that the Ducks have been in on 5-star defensive lineman David DJ Hicks for a long time. They've been trying to flip him from Texas A&M. Oklahoma's been trying as well. It looks like it's between Oregon and Texas A&M at this point, with Texas A&M likely leading. But from everything I hear, David Hicks really wants to play at Oregon, and his parents really wanted to play at Texas A&M. So it's kind of one of those battles. But I was told that the Ducks landing Peyton Bowen has big ramifications in them potentially landing David Hicks too. That he may see Bowen come, he may see Mateo Uiagalelei on that defense, and he may say, "Hey, I'm going to Oregon. This is where I'm going to play." So he's not expected to announce his decision until Friday. We'll see where he goes, whether it's Texas A&M or Oregon. There's a couple other guys, nice 4-star guys that are expected to announce in January and February. Louisville tight end Jamari Johnson, an uncommitted Texas lineman Ashton Porter, guys like that. There's going to be more additions to this class. I don't know any bigger than the 5 stars or David Hicks on Friday, but there's definitely more to come for this class.
Zachary, we appreciate you stopping by, breaking down some Oregon football for us.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
All right, folks, we are going to keep it moving because we have a list of guests here, and we'll get to our guy, Will Gunter. It's been a while, Will. How are you doing?
Doing great, man. Hope you're doing well. Although it's we're getting northeast weather down here, so we're trying to stay warm, but doing great otherwise.
And when you're getting northeast weather down there, that means we are getting northeaster weather to the hilt. So I think it's going to dip around 0 here for a day and a half or so, something in that range. Yes. Yeah. So we are bracing ourselves, as all of you are. It's even dipping into Florida. I see weather in the 20s down there forecasted. This South Carolina recruiting class, Will, I'm looking just at the numbers. I've not had a chance to look at the deep dive with the 21 players signed, but I just look at the ranking at number 18, and you're going to have to educate me because we could have went to one of our conversations from 5 years ago and seen a Will Muschamp class and number 18 in the nation. So what's the difference between what's going on now and what was going on then?
There's not much. I mean, to be honest, that's where South Carolina is going to end up, regardless of coach. It's going to be very rare that South Carolina ends up with a top 10 class, a top 15 class. South Carolina was sitting on a top 15 class just about 6 days ago and lost, I guess, particularly, and to give you an example, lost a junior college offensive line commitment, Isaiah Jatta, who went to the Colorado Buffaloes. And so, it's a matter of style points there. It really is. I don't know the exact difference between 18 and 15 in terms of points, to be honest with you tonight. But, it's one of those things where I think you're right. If you're just looking at the recruiting class itself and you're looking at the ranking, you're probably thinking, well, it's another South Carolina class. But again, the key here was adding some quality players. And then, as it always does for South Carolina or any school in the SEC, it comes down to how you develop those players after they get on campus, being able to coach them up and reach maximum potential.
Yeah, Will Gunter on the line from the early game. You can catch him on 107.5 The Game. Is there probably an app or something people can go online to be able to find your show that aren't in the Columbia, South Carolina area?
Yes, we do have. I think we've got a new app. I think I don't know if they've completely rolled it out yet. I know that was something that was designated for this month or the end of the year, depending on some of the little bugs that they're trying to work out. But yeah, you can always go on the App Store or on iTunes and catch that on 107.5 The Game, I believe is how you can go about checking that out. And go to our website as well, 1075thegame.com.
So, Will, based on either what Shane Beamer has to say or by the proof in his actions, what do you think is marking his style, his approach, his philosophy in recruiting, and what he's trying to get done?
Well, again, look, South Carolina has to, at the end of the day, when you talk recruiting for South Carolina, it comes down to getting players better once they get on campus. Shane Beamer did a good job this particular offseason of being able to sell a bunch of offensive and defensive linemen on getting to Columbia. They've really made a better effort of going into the Mid Atlantic, the DMV area, and being able to pluck some kids again out of Maryland and DC and kind of the Mid Atlantic area of the East Coast. But a lot of that is selling a family and a culture. And then South Carolina got very lucky with some night games this year. You get lucky with television networks and what they want to elect to do, and South Carolina being able to sell an environment, a very good home environment, something that in this day and age with television networks and everybody wanting you to stay home and watch games on the television and not go. South Carolina did a good job of getting people to the stadium and creating a very fun environment. And obviously, Mark, those last two games, beating Tennessee the way they did in a night game and then beating Clemson the way they did up in Memorial Stadium goes a long way to showing just where that program is at.
There you go. Where did that team come from? Because I watched South Carolina get knocked around early in the season against Arkansas. They didn't get blown out, but really they were never in the game. They got physically manhandled both sides of the ball. I saw most of the Missouri game. They couldn't gain a first down to save their life, 10 points on the scoreboard, and then they run into one of the hottest teams in the country with arguably the best offense in the country in Tennessee. They take them to the woodshed, and Spencer Rattler came into that game with a handful of touchdown passes, and then they back it up the next week when you expect, okay, well, this team's not very good. They had a once-in-a-lifetime moment at home. They can't go to Death Valley and get up 7 days later and do the same thing, and they did.
I think we're going to ask that. I will say, the bowl game goes a long way to telling us some about the offense. I don't think we have enough time tonight for you and I to get into that discussion that we've had on the radio show the last few weeks about those offensive performances and what may or may not have happened. And obviously, excuse me, since then, Marcus Satterfield, the former offensive coordinator, has gone to Nebraska, and South Carolina's hired a new offensive coordinator in Dow Loggins, the former Arkansas tight end coach. But I think that, there's a lot of questions about whether it was shortening the playbook, reducing the personnel packages, reducing the verbiage of how you call plays. Something obviously occurred because you're right. It wasn't just this year. There was 23 games that were involved in the resume of Shane Beamer and offensive coordinator Marcus Satterfield that got completely upended by those last two games against Tennessee and Clemson. And quite frankly, I don't think we have enough time tonight for us to do a deep dive into what may or may not have happened.
Great stuff from Will Gunter. Catch him on the early game, 107.5 The Game. Will, we always appreciate you stopping by. It's been a while. Good to see you as always. I hope everything's good.
Aside from the weather, everything is fantastic. Ready for Christmas and what should be a very fun bowl game for South Carolina, and then off into a new 2023, which again hopefully is very exciting and a lot of fun. And this game that we call college football continues to evolve and change. The good news is the game itself is going to stay the same. You'll still get 6 points for a touchdown, 3 points for a field goal. First and 10 will stay the same. It's just the offseason that looks like it's evolving rapidly.
Will, Merry Christmas to you. Happy holidays. We appreciate you stopping by and hope you have a great holiday season.
Y'all as well. Take care.
It's our guy, Will Gunter, taking care of South Carolina football for us. And we continue the procession as we go along. We got Stephen M. Smith of Touchdown Alabama joining us next. Stephen, how you doing?
Doing great, Mark, and yourself. How are we feeling in the Northeast region?
Oh, frigid. We're always frigid, but we understand everybody's frigid across the nation. Regardless, you really can't get away from it. The best you can do is maybe 50 degrees down somewhere in South Florida. So we're all going to have to bear with it for a few days, I think. But hopefully you're doing fine.
I'm doing fine in it right now. I know down here, Mark, we got about 35 to 40 degrees. It could drop a little bit more than that. It could drop to about 20. I've seen some weather forecasts that's got Bama people down to 10 degrees. So we are feeling the effects of it, but I'm doing fine.
Stephen, every time we get together on National Signing Day and, I'm trying to cover as many teams as possible and I go to that Alabama list. Well, first and foremost, when I go to the team rankings, I never have to scroll too far and usually don't have to scroll at all. So we brought in the number one class here again from Nick Saban. So many of those who are predicting the demise of Alabama football, they might have jumped the gun just slightly. So we've got a number one recruiting class. Talk about some of the last minute wins, flips. What is going right here down the stretch?
Well, Mark, at 71 years of age, Coach Saban is showing I can still do this. And it is incredible after you look at, a 2-loss season this year. Of course, you lose 2 games by a combined 4 points. You think about if you make a field goal against Tennessee, how much different that could have been. If you stop a 2-point conversion against LSU, how much different that could have been. You're looking at an Alabama team that could be undefeated in the college football playoff right now, but as Nick Saban likes to say, you control your own destiny. You don't put your destiny into the hands of the college football playoff committee. But in terms of the recruiting class, this class right here, unbelievable. 27 signees, 9 5-stars. And of those 9, you look at guys like Caden Proctor, of whom you flipped from Iowa late in the process, 6'7", 330-pounder. You talk about he's got the size, the physicality, the quickness, the athleticism. He carries the same potential as a Cam Robinson, a Jonah Williams, a Evan Neal, Alex Leatherwood did during their tenures at Alabama as an offensive tackle. So Caden Proctor jumps off the page immediately. You look at Caleb Downs, the number one safety in this class coming out of Georgia Mill Creek High School. The last time Bama picked up the number one safety overall, that was 2012, Landon Collins. And when you look at Caleb Downs, he's got it all. The leadership, the instincts, can play the lower third, can cover the field, can play in the box. Just a high IQ of a football player. And Saban very happy to get his hands on that young man. You look at Jaleel Hurley, a 5-star out of Florence High School in North Alabama, a dude that's got tremendous range, speed, athleticism, length, can play the ball, just wants to get into Alabama and chase championships. You got 2 5-star running backs in Justice Haynes and Richard Young. Justice Haynes, the complete back, can hurdle like Najee Harris. Richard Young, kind of the more so bruiser back, but has speed to him, as well. And then you look at guys like Quay Russaw and James Smith, the last 2 that came in, the package deal out of Carver High School in Montgomery, just absolute bullies on the defensive front. James Smith, a bully as a defensive tackle in the trenches. Quay Russaw he looks like a transformer. I mean, if you put him on the field with any Alabama linebacker right now that's on campus, he may be the biggest Alabama linebacker. That talk about Quay Russaw. I mean, just the lateral quickness, his physical build, his speed to get sideline to sideline. He can get vertical in a hurry. I was watching one game during this season, Mark, with him. He would chase down a 2025 running back with 4.2 speed, chased him down and tackled the guy before he even reached the sideline. Like that type of ability from Quay Russaw. He's just different. He's a different cat at that inside backer position. Can play inside linebacker, maybe can play some outside. We'll see where he fits in. But 9 5-stars in this 2023 class that brought in 27 signees, Mark. And if this group pans out on the field as it's done on paper, this class could rival of a 2008 class, a 2013 class, a 2017 class, some of the more legendary classes that have come through under the Nick Saban era. This is a very special class on paper. Can they do it on the field? That's what the Alabama fan base will look to see.
Stephen, we appreciate you stopping by. Thank you so much. Of course, we want everyone to check out Stephen's work every Monday, Wednesday, Friday. It's right here on YouTube. In my own words, give Stephen a call. His take on Alabama athletics and the SEC in general. Stephen, we appreciate you stopping by as always, sir.
Appreciate it, Mark. You guys take care over there.
All right, let's keep it moving here at the Voice of College Football. We have checked out teams from all 5 major conferences, and we just keep rolling along. And next up, our guy Tony Siracusa from Last Word on College Football. Tony, how you doing tonight?
Mark, how you doing? You and I have done a few of these.
We've done
a few of these over the years, haven't we?
I come back to you time and time again, so you must be doing something right.
Well, I'm giving the credit where the credit is due. We pumped out a lot of stories from across the country today, as we do every year. My team of editors was doing a great job, running air traffic control, as the letters were coming in, we're pumping out the stories. So they did a great job, and you know how it goes. It's been a long several days with working with all of our writers, getting the articles in and having the profiles ready for when these guys signed.
We are dealing in contrasts here. We just got done with our conversation with Stephen M. Smith, Alabama bringing in another number 1 recruiting class and just 5-star lining them up at each position. Sure. And now we go to Dave Clawson at Wake Forest, where there's a little bit more art and maybe a little less science to it. Or maybe I got that flip. I don't know. That is a head scratcher in regards to him not necessarily going by the recruiting rankings, although that's important still. But, finding the program fits, finding the character, finding the work ethic, putting it all together with the talent and not just the talent in the here and now, but where could we have this player 3 years from now? What could they possibly be?
Yeah, that's it with Wake Forest. Look, it was probably, arguably, the best recruiting class in the Dave Clawson era at Wake Forest. When all is said and done, as we sit here, the last time I did the update on the rankings, they came in at 50th in the country. They were 80th last year. Obviously, it's still relatively early on the West Coast, and so things change as teams still continue to collect letters. But look, they signed 19 players. They got pretty much everybody that they had commitments from. There was one player who late in the game, Sam Williams, a defensive lineman, flipped from Wake Forest to Missouri. The irony of that is Wake Forest plays Missouri tomorrow, 2 nights from now in Tampa in the Gasparilla Bowl. And Williams told the local media in Missouri he didn't really consider it a flip. He considered it a business decision because he said Missouri had more to offer than Wake Forest. I'm not sure what he was looking for in terms of what that means, but look, so be it. Getting back to Wake Forest, you're not going to get a bunch of 5-star players there. You're not. They've got a 4-star recruit. And just to kind of even the playing field here, just so everyone knows, when we do all these profiles, we use the 24/7 Sports Composite for our rankings. I know Rivals has theirs, ESPN has theirs, respect all of them, but just when I reference a 4-star, that's what we're talking about. So they got wide receiver Micah Mays from North Palm Beach, Florida. He's 6'2", 175, very physically gifted. When you look at the combination of Wake Forest RPO offense, kind of blended in with about 25% slow mesh offense, going deep and going downfield is significant. And Mays gives them a guy who can stretch the field. Very physically gifted, good footwork, got a good twitch off the line. And he was the highest rated that they got and highest rated that they're going to get. Everyone else was a 3-star or lower. And that's what you just have to expect from this class. As you well pointed out, it's about fit. It's about, who can we get in academically? Because Wake Forest is different than 90% of the other schools in the Power 5 conferences in terms of admissions. It's who is a fit. Dave Clawson has told us specifically that he really doesn't worry about the star system. He's acknowledged players who have come to him as a 3-star, and then they get offers from Clemson or they get offers from Florida State or Miami, and all of a sudden they're a 4-star, and it's because of where they got the offers from. And so he knows the system, and the kids know the system, and they know that where they take their visits will make a difference in what they get. But look, he wrapped it up neatly and cleanly. He had all 19 guys signed by 9 a.m. Eastern time this morning while he's in Tampa getting ready for the bowl game a couple days from now. So it's been a challenging couple of weeks for Clawson. We talked with him yesterday, and he talked about how roster management is everything, and it's the hardest job right now because you had the transfer portal open up a couple of weeks ago. You're out recruiting. Because their season did not finish strong, they're playing in one of the bowl games that comes before Christmas. So, and then you have signing day right in there. So it kind of compacts everything. They had a good class. They got what they needed. They're going to add to the depth. Like I said, they signed 19 players. There is still some uncertainty as to who they have coming back. Some players have not made their decisions public yet. A few have, but some have not. So again, roster management challenges, but he had a good class. He got a really good edge rusher from Tyler Walton from Sewanee, Georgia. Kid's huge and very quick. And so that adds depth. Is he going to start right away? No, look, none of these guys are going to start right away. This isn't 90% of the schools in the country. This is, you got to come in, you got to learn the system, you got to acclimate to Clawson and his offensive system, or Brad Lambert and the relatively new defensive system. You don't see many freshmen start for Clawson in his entire 7-8 years at Wake Forest. They get their shots when they're sophomores and juniors, so it's about sticking around. They got 10 guys who will be early enrollees, so they'll get a head start and get their before, in time for spring camp. They'll be enrolled in school next month. So it was a good class. It really was. He will not get a chance really to use much of the transfer portal. Admissions at Wake Forest has a history over the 2 years of the transfer portal of pretty much Xing out any undergrad transfer. They can get grad transfers. They had a really successful one this year. Kobe Turner, the defensive lineman, was a grad transfer from Richmond, had an amazing season. They have grad transfers. You're not going to get an undergrad transfer past admissions at Wake Forest. So again, he's got to go through looking 1, 2, 3 years down the line when he gets any recruiting class.
You happen to answer my next question, because as I'm scrolling through all these classes and looking at the letters of intent and the hard commits, then I get to the transfers, and typically I'm looking at a list of 2 to 8 per team, and I see none for Wake Forest, and you just
Correct.
explained why none for Dave Clawson and company.
And he will, as soon as the bowl game is over, he will be working the portal, as it were, like you used to work the living rooms, with high school recruits. He'll see if there are players there that can work out for him. He basically told us a couple of weeks ago, as far as the assistant coaches and the coaching staff, his analysts, they get to go home for Christmas, and then pretty much the rest of their time off has been canceled. Because they need to get, for depth, they need to iron out who's staying, who's leaving. And there are, like I said, still some questions. They have 9 guys who've entered the portal. Honestly, it wouldn't surprise me if a couple of them wound up staying at Wake Forest. You get a guy like Quentin Cooley. Well, let's start with Christian Turner, the running back. He went into the portal, wanted to play in the bowl game, but he had some visits that were mandated by those schools last weekend, so he missed some practice, so Clawson wouldn't put him on the roster for the bowl game. Quentin Cooley, the running back, is in the portal, but he's on the postseason roster because he hasn't missed any of the practices, and Clawson has been clear, look, these guys want to come back, we'll try and find a way to make it happen. So there's a lot of roster uncertainty, which then means how far deep can you go looking into the portal? He can probably come up with 2, 3, maybe 4 players, but they will almost certainly be grad transfers.
Wake Forest and Missouri get together at the Gasparilla Bowl, matchup of the ACC and the SEC, as was the case. I guess they signed that contract. I was running myself into a dead end there because it was Florida and UCF actually last year. I think UCF picked up one of those ACC spots. But regardless, we got Mizzou and we got Wake getting together in a couple nights. And if there is one guy with all the conversations, Tony, that we have on this show from callers and commenters in the live chat concerning the downgrade in bowl play and the meaningless bowl games, if there's one guy that I can just about guarantee you watches all the bowl games, he's right here with us right now. Am I right?
You are right. I have watched all of most of them. One of them, I only caught like half of it. We got just a little bit before we got a bowl game starting. Hey, tomorrow, I'm busy working tomorrow. And then I head to Charlotte Airport to hop on a plane to Tampa to cover the Gasparilla Bowl live. So, and my DVR will be working while I'm gone. And so, yeah, this is what we do.
I'm right.
It's what you do also. I know it very well.
I love it. I love these bowl games. Exactly. They have not lost much of their luster for me. I do get irritated by a few opt-outs here and there. But good to see Bryce Young and Will Anderson suiting up for the Sugar Bowl in particular.
Oh, I love that, right? I absolutely, yes. I love that. I give them a standing ovation for doing it. And I see the people telling them they're foolish, the risk to injury. I get that. I mean, that's why they're going to have insurance policies to protect them, if they do get injured. It's very common thing for guys who are going to be first round draft picks to go get those policies. Very common. And I applaud them for wanting to have this one last run, with their teammates and a significant bowl, and not just say, well, it's not the playoffs, so we're not going to do it. I got to meet Will Anderson a couple of weeks ago when I represented Last Word and the Football Writers Association at the Nagurski Awards. And just a very bright young man. He won the award, Best Defensive Player in the country. Very bright young man. And you like to see guys like that, really put in for their teammates.
All right, Tony, as long as you will continue to accept my invitations, you know that you always have a spot here at the Voice of College Football. So we appreciate you stopping by as always.
You always know where to find me, friend.
Thank you, Tony. Appreciate it.
All right. Be well.
Have a great trip.
Thanks. And Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, Tony. Thank you so much. Tony Siracusa, Last Word on College Football. He's headed to Tampa in a couple nights to catch the Mizzou and Wake Forest game. Catch Tony's work. You see the banner right there, Last Word on College Football. All right, let's keep it working here at the Voice of College Football. Let's stay in the ACC and go to our guy, Jason Priester. from allclemson.com. Jason, what's going on tonight?
Busy day, man. What's up with you?
Busy day. I'm right there with you. I am right there with you. And at this point of the day, the only difference between what we do, well, there's probably about 50 other ones, but I'll just mention this one. You're probably sick of hearing about Clemson recruits and just going through the same names that you've been going through for months and months and months. And I'm the other way. I'm trying to keep track of 50 or 60 teams. So I'm like, can never really lock in on anybody in particular. So that's why we come to you, Jason. I'm looking at a class that has 26 signed, 13th ranked right now. And I'm going to bring up two situations that I came across today. One was that Clemson had got an in-state prospect that was out there at running back that they were able to get today. And then there was another situation where I saw there was a battle between Clemson and South Carolina for an in-state offensive lineman. So
that's a 2024 guy.
24 guy.
Blake.
I'm never thinking about that.
Blake Frank or
we don't need to
from
deal
Greenville.
with 2024. Oh, okay. They ruined my lead in for you. Regardless, what stands out to you today and what's happened over the last few days?
The biggest thing that stands out to me about Clemson's class is they've kind of it was built in the trenches. You know, Clemson signed 6 defensive linemen today. That's the most they've signed since 2015 when they signed 7. And these are really good players. Peter Woods, Vic Burley, Phylon Green, 3 elite level defensive tackles. Woods and Burley, top 50 or so players overall. So we're talking about fringe 5-star guys. And even the ends, while they're not quite highly as rated as the tackles, Ryan Parker, David Ojebi, and A.J. Hoffler, I think Clemson got 3 really good pass rushing prospects. Hoffler and Ojebi might need a year or so in the system to acclimate. I think Parker could probably contribute right away if needed. But I think Clemson really kind of restocked along that defensive line in this class. And with some of the guys it looks like might be leaving, particularly at end, even though Dabo Swinney hinted today that there were going to be some guys coming back that weren't expected to be back. But, it was a class where they needed to hit on some guys along the defensive front, and I think they did that. And even in the offensive line, I thought Thomas Austin killed it. His first recruiting class as offensive line coach. Zachariah Owens, Harris Sewell, who was a top 100 guy, and Ian Reed, 3 4-star guys, all capable of making impacts sooner than later. I think Sewell's a guy who could come in and maybe contribute for a spot on the 2 deep as a freshman.
Got Jason Priester here from allclemson.com on S side. Join him right there. You see it on the banner, allclemson.com. And, of course, a lot on National Signing Day and the bowl game coming up against Tennessee. Particular positions that were targeted for this class?
Outside of the defensive line, Clemson wanted to get a quarterback next in line to Cade Klubnik. I think they did that with Chris Vizina. He's one of the better quarterback prospects in the country, probably one of the 5 best quarterback prospects in the country, in my opinion. But a guy who really has all the tools. He's got the arm. He's got pinpoint accuracy. He throws a beautiful deep ball. I think he's not quite as polished coming out of high school as Klubnik was. Might need a year in the system. We'll have to see where he is when he gets here. But he's early enrollee. And Clemson, losing DJ and Billy Wiles to the transfer portal really needed to shore up the depth in that quarterback room. And I think they addressed that with Vizina. They got a graduate transfer out of the portal in Paul Tyson. He's been at Alabama and Arizona State. could come in and compete for the backup job if Vizina isn't quite ready to be that guy yet. So I think they shored up quarterback. And I like the receivers they took in this class. They're not going to jump off the screen at you when you look at their recruiting rankings. But Noble Johnson and Tyler Brown, I think, are two fairly underrated guys in this class. I watched Noble Johnson work out at Dabo Swinney's high school camp last summer, and that's where he earned his offer. He was the best wide receiver I watched work out over those few days. He is built like a freight train. I mean, he is just put together. He runs very precise routes for a kid coming out of high school, has excellent hands, very explosive first step, gets in and out of his breaks really quickly. And Tyler Brown's a local kid out of Greenville, smaller guy, but extremely explosive, long range speed, and very twitchy, something that I think Clemson's kind of lacked in that receiver room in recent seasons. And then there's Ronan Hannafin from up in Massachusetts. Doesn't get talked about a lot. A four-star guy by 24/7 in Rivals. Sports Illustrated ranks him as inside their top 100 guys, and they rank him strictly as a wide receiver, not as an athlete. And he's a big-bodied guy, 6'2", 2.5, probably pushing 210 pounds already, going to play on the outside. I think that is a name that Clemson fans will become acclimated with sooner rather than later. I think he can make an impact on this team in the next year or two.
Besides Paul Tyson in the transfer portal, you know, Dabo's got this reputation of not wanting to dabble into the transfer portal. Do we see them looking for immediate help there?
I think that's going to depend on who these guys are that are coming back. It would not surprise me at all to see Clemson go and try to land a veteran wide receiver to add to that room. They're not just going to take any guy. It'll have to be the right guy. They'll be very picky about it. That's the way they're going to be with their approach to the portal for any position. And depending what shakes out at defensive end, if they can get a couple of these guys back, like there's some talk that Xavier Thomas might come back. I think Justin Mascol might be back. Those are two guys that were thought to probably be gone coming into the season. But if they can get those two guys back, maybe they don't need to go to the portal to get it in. But if you lose both those guys, that changes things drastically. And Clemson's extremely thin at end if you lose both those guys, because KJ Henry's leaving too. Miles Murphy's gone. And what they will have at end will be very inexperienced, hardly any real playing time whatsoever outside of Greg Williams, who doesn't have much himself. So if all those guys leave, I think end is a position they could look at. But if you get a couple of those guys back, maybe you don't need to go to the portal for an end.
Well, Jason, I don't know what you do for entertainment or relaxation, but I'm sure you're about ready to dive into it right now and get away from all this. So we appreciate you extending your day for another 15 or 20 minutes and hanging out with us.
Hey, anytime, man. Always a pleasure, Mark.
Thank you, sir. Have a good night.
Appreciate it.
Our man, Jason Priester, there you see his contact information on Twitter and allclemson.com. Get over there and check out Jason's work. He does a great job. All right, folks, we are at the point in which I'm awaiting, let's see, Greg Peterson, Husker Online for Nebraska, Corey Bratta from the Hawkeye of the Storm to talk Iowa, Jason Ray, our postgame host at the Voice of College Football OU, to talk Sooners. And that should about do it. So in the meantime, I will answer your comments and questions and drop the link in the chat. So anyone who would like to jump on, just keep in mind that if one of our guests comes on, then we're going to defer to them. But please join the show if you've got anything for me. Of course, we've got I believe it's the R&L Carriers New Orleans Bowl. R&L Carriers, got to hand it to them. Their commitment to the New Orleans Bowl has been stout They have been the sponsor for the New Orleans Bowl forever, haven't they? It's been a long time. So we've got one bowl game today, and that's it. 9 p.m. Eastern time. So you know what I need to do, actually, while we're thinking of it here, is we're going to pop this ball game on. And we're going to press record. In the meantime, we're going to hear from our guy, Dr. C. Dr. C, what's going on?
Hey, how's it going, Mark?
I am doing just fine. What is going on with you?
Oh, man. This was the first time I had the day off of work because I'm on vacation and got to kind of experience the whole signing day.
Absolutely.
And I think, shout out to you that I think did it right and not some of the other, mainstream shows.
We do what we can. And so, Dr. C, just so I can get this right in the future, because I have no idea what you're talking about, you want to explain to me how I got it right so I don't screw it up next year?
Well, like you had, you talked to Ty Hudson. He talked about Razorbacks and then who they got. Then you talked to the gentleman from LSU, and you guys talked about the recruits they got. Because I was watching the other show prior to you, and I won't name them, but nothing was really going on because pretty much everyone is signed except for maybe a couple of folks that are out there.
Yep.
So I was expecting to see, the kids on the table with the hats and, pretending to go somewhere, and then, hey, I'm going to Georgia,
Yeah.
That really wasn't happening. Everybody's been signed. So I was expecting that, And to my disappointment, I saw one kid, the kid out of Utah, Hawaiian kid who signed with Texas. That moved Texas up to 3. And that was cool. But there was only one in probably the 6 hours of TV I watched.
That is the only on-air live commitment announcement?
Yeah, that's the
Really?
only one I saw.
On
I guess it's on the 247.
Yeah.
So I had them on the YouTube, and they were just going over, hey, this and that. I only saw one, and I was there for hours.
I will have to say that we do have somebody here that suggested the same to me. They said, Mark, you've got ESPN, you've got CBS Sportsnet, you got 247 Sports, and they do these live commitment announcements. Why don't you get into that game? I said, well, that's not necessarily the worst idea I've ever heard. But,
yeah.
I don't know if I'm going to be really into contacting a bunch of 17-year-olds on Twitter and trying to arrange commitment announcements, but it's an idea.
Yeah, that was a really, really, I grew up watching that, and maybe it's because the early signing maybe killed that. Because the kids are all signed. I don't know, back in the day, I'm thinking about 10 years ago, you'd have like the kid. Do you remember the kid that faked his own recruitment?
Ooh, refresh my memory.
So he was a young man, a pretty big guy, created a whole, lied to everyone. They had an event at his gym. It was on all the big media sports things. And he picked Cal. And even his dad, he fooled his dad, at the same time. Everybody thought he was going to play Division I football. And he they create a whole pep rally and everything. And it was a big lie. Yeah.
That is phenomenal. That's something close to what that, what was it? That academy supposedly out of Ohio,
yeah,
or Pennsylvania, with the football team that they put together. Yeah.
Well, I think that's even crazier because they created a fake school to play. You can't make this up.
Tremendous.
If you made a movie and someone an evil man,
they even duped ESPN into broadcasting their games.
How the heck did ESPN get tricked by a fake school, an unaccredited school? And then, I think they came to the realization after the IMG put 80 on them. It was literally for the safety of the kids. They almost wanted to stop the game because you had these regular high school kids, with this, probably from some rec league. They got them all together and they were taking on, and really those IMG academies, they should be legal. They recruit and they take all the best. So you're literally playing a college football team against a bunch of kids that probably can't even make their high school team, and they were getting beaten. I mean, it was criminal. It really was. It was horrible.
I missed all that in terms of actually watching any of the plays, and I'm sure that will never make it out of the ESPN vault to ever be aired again. So I don't know if it's out there or not, but yeah, that's good stuff.
Yeah, that's nuts. And then, well, one of the interesting things that the gentleman from LSU, I can't remember his name, pointed out that the cornerback, what is his name, Hunter?
Yes, Travis Hunter.
Hunter would release who he's signing with if he got 100,000 subscribers on his YouTube channel, which he reached. He just reached. Last I checked, he was like at 103,000.
I've been working at this for years to get to 100,000 subscribers on YouTube, and I'm sitting at like 38. And
whoever
on.
gave him that idea was brilliant.
Yes,
because now I'm sure he's making a ton from NIL, but now a sponsor or whatever, you're saying, hey, look, I've got 250,000 people on my YouTube channel.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
That was the highlight. And I'll let you go because I know there's a bunch of callers, but I think the one team that really made some noise in a rather, what I felt, uneventful day in most part was Oregon.
Yes.
They flipped one of the kids that was going to Notre Dame, running back. They were just flipping 4 stars, like right and left, kind of all day. So
yeah, that was a safety going to Notre Dame, Peyton Bowen.
Oh, it was a safety. Okay, yeah, that a great get, and they got and then there was one of the other hat things, that the second one, only the second one. Actually, that's right. At like 6:00, I think it was a 4-star defensive player chose Oregon, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, they got one that was looking at also Ohio State and USC, Mateo Uiagalelei.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah. So, I mean, they've got that NIL backing, and I'm sure their coach learned a lot about how to get recruits when he was at Georgia. So, I mean, I'm not saying anything that hasn't been said on like CBS Sports, where they were like I think it was Danny Cannell. I'll say allegedly, but he said, hey, Georgia didn't have this defense because they out-recruited everyone. He pretty much said they bought these players to create this type of defense. So, I don't know if Lanning got some of that strategy and is using it now in Oregon, or whether it's NIL money. I mean, obviously there's no proof, so this is just hearsay, But a heck of a day for them. Exciting. Last thing, I'll let you go. Do you think there's a chance that due to these great recruiting class like Oregon showing, that the Big Ten takes them?
I don't think that has hardly anything to do with it.
No.
The
brand?
The brand is the brand, and it would take 5 top 5 recruiting classes to change the Oregon brand to the positive, and it would take several, bottom 40 recruiting classes to change the brand otherwise. Yeah, the worth of the value of both the school, the athletics department, the football brand, all of that, it's not going to change based on bumping up a recruiting ranking from 12 to 8.
Right. But I mean, Oregon's got that money out on the West Coast. They have
that's a
maybe
whole
the
other-
number one facilities in the country.
That's a different argument. Absolutely.
Oh, okay.
But if you're
All
just talking about having a good recruiting year, changing an entire conference's decision to bring a school on board, no.
Okay.
No.
Excellent. All right. Hey, I'll enjoy the rest of the show. Great job, Mark.
I appreciate it, Dr. C. Have a good night.
Hey, you as well.
Trying to figure out what Ralph means here when he said, Mark, you should do that as connected to the Travis Hunter fiasco, what he pulled off on, where are we? YouTube. Yeah, that's the name of the place. YouTube. Yeah, I've said that a few times in my life. Let's, while we let DeAndre talk here, I'm going to be looking up Travis Hunter's YouTube channel. Meanwhile, we're going to push toward 100,000 right here. We actually have 100,000 if we put all the channels together, but we want to get those right here. DeAndre, how you doing tonight?
It's not DeAndre. It's McD Sports 4.
Oh, I'm sorry. I don't know why I thought it was DeAndre. I must have glanced down and saw something. Anyway, we got McD here.
Hey,
Good.
Mark, how you doing?
I'm doing well. Good to have you here.
Obviously, I want to talk about recruiting from a Maryland standpoint. Obviously, Mark, I gotta admit to you, I'm a little bit concerned about the University of Maryland football program.
Really?
Yep.
I've never heard that out of you before.
And I'm concerned. My main concern is I just feel like this season, the recruiting class is a typical Maryland recruiting class. Okay, about 3 to 4 stars.
Yeah, I see it.
But it's a typical recruiting class around 30. I think they're 34th nationally. I think if you had the transfer portal, they get a bit of a bump because they did get that good safety out of Miami that transferred from Miami to Maryland, but which is a good pickup. And I think that's the one bright spot. But it's been underwhelming this year, Mark. It really has. I know I haven't been on in a few weeks, but I've kind of been. I mean, if you look at the attendance for the Maryland home games this year, none of them came close to a sellout. And that surprised me because I thought there was some hype around this team. I know Coach Loxley kept on saying fill the stadium up, and the stadium was never filled. So I'm a little bit concerned. I thought Maryland could maybe made a big splash this year, but it just came across as a bit underwhelming. That's kind of my opinion about Maryland's recruiting class. I don't think it's a bad recruiting class, but I mean, I was hoping for a big splash like a few years ago with Raheem Jarrett.
Yeah, I got to say that my opinion on Maryland football based on this past season and recruiting class has not changed one minute.
And I don't blame you for I don't blame you.
The recruiting class is number 33. Their record was 7-5. You know, I don't know that I could have predicted more accurately any school in the nation's record and recruiting class better than Maryland's. This is Maryland right here, number 33 recruiting class, 7-5 record. Boom, that's what they do.
I mean, and listen, if my expectations were kind of low for Maryland this year, I wouldn't mind that. But they're not. You knew that I said 8-4 this year.
Yeah,
I was a game off, and maybe they'll get win number 8 in the Gator Bowl. I'm happy we're playing NC State because it brings back memories of watching Maryland and NC State the Saturday after Thanksgiving, because that used to be the game after the Saturday after Thanksgiving every year back when Maryland was in the ACC. And I expect Maryland to win that game. I think Loxley needs to win that game.
So I just grabbed my notebook here because I went through all my preseason my preseason predictions, record predictions, and then I compared them to, of course, the 12-game results. And I've had better prediction years, but I came within one game of 36 of 64 Power 5 teams. And actually, I picked Maryland to go 6-6 this year. That was my Maryland record this year. So I was off by a game as well, just like you.
You probably didn't see. You're probably higher Michigan State than what they end up
Yeah, I had
doing. I
Michigan State
guess.
8-4. Yeah, that was my big miss in the Big Ten was Michigan State and Northwestern.
Where do you have Northwestern going?
I can't believe this, but I had Northwestern going 5-7.
It looked possible after week 0.
Yeah. I really missed on Wisconsin, Northwestern, and Michigan State. Yeah, I had Wisconsin at 10-2.
Well, that spiraled out of control after the shocking firing of Paul Chris. So that's one you just gotta bite the bullet on one. But I'm looking forward to not the Gator Bowl, the Duke's Mayor Bowl. I keep on thinking it's the Gator Bowl for some reason, but it's the Duke's Mayor Bowl. I'm looking forward to it. Mark, who do you think's gonna win, NC State or Maryland?
I am leaning heavily. As soon as I saw that matchup, I thought, well, there's a loss for the Big Ten.
I don't blame you. I'm a Terps fan.
Yeah, I don't think that's a great matchup.
Yeah, I don't have a good feeling about it. I don't. But as I said, Loxley needs that win more
What
than
does
anything.
Vegas say about this game? Let's see
Pick
here.
'em. It was a pick 'em.
Oh, okay.
But I'm sure the money went towards NC State. Will be my
The
guess.
money has actually gone toward Maryland, apparently. It's at 1.5.
Pick NC State, people. So I'm going to say about that.
Well, that was my initial reaction, and I thought maybe that I don't have any kind of anti-Maryland bias, but I've never had the greatest faith in Mike Loxley, so
I know.
To be.
And I think at times he's proven you wrong, Mark. I think at times he's proven you wrong.
Can you point to any specific games he's proven me wrong? Because I can't think of those.
The Michigan State game this year.
Well, Michigan State wasn't any good.
Him making a bowl game, him winning a bowl game.
When he won a bowl game, yes, against a bad Virginia Tech team. But yeah, they won a bowl game. Just the fact that they won a bowl game, I was impressed with that. They did play a lousy Virginia Tech team.
I agree. But I said
they blasted them. They killed them. To their credit, they didn't just beat them by 4 points. They destroyed them. Yes, that was great. But they won a bowl game for the first time since like 2010, winning season for the first time since like 2012, 13, 14, something in that range. So, yeah, but their results this season, they pretty much beat who they were supposed to beat. They lost to who they were supposed to lose to. Just pretty much followed script.
Yeah, and as I said, it was just a bit underwhelming. I look back at that Wisconsin game as kind of a game that they were just that game just frustrated me. And the Penn State game frustrated me.
They should have beat Purdue.
The Purdue game was frustrating, but for different reasons.
They played Ohio State really well.
As I said, the best 2 games of the season was Ohio State and Michigan, and they lost both of those games.
Yeah.
So, and that's why I can't wait till they go divisionless in the Big Ten because we don't have to face that every year. But one other quick note, Mark, before I let you go, something about the college football playoffs. I've been watching a few of your videos. I think they're going to be blowouts, Mark.
Both of them.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think Georgia's going to blow out Ohio State. I think Michigan is going to beat TCU by at least 2 touchdowns.
So Georgia's going to win this game by what? 3 or 4 touchdowns?
I think so.
I wouldn't be surprised. I think Ohio State has the capability to beat them. But
Ohio State might hit them for a few plays throughout the game, but Georgia will win the lines of scrimmages. Ohio State, in my opinion, they're just not a physical team. And I hate to say it, but like the whole narrative about the snow in Michigan in 2021 blew up, which was a dumb narrative to begin with, blew up in their face. It blew up in their face. I mean, there's no other way to put it. I mean, Donovan Edwards, 2 touchdowns against Ohio State in the fourth quarter was hilarious, in my opinion. I hate Ohio State more than Michigan, as you can tell.
Myself, but
sorry, Mark.
I hear you. I've been saying this ever since the matchup was announced, that if Ohio State is laser focused, if they're on their game, if they're into this and they are ready to roll, then that doesn't even guarantee that they're going to win. This might be the first time I could say that about an Ohio State team since I don't know when the last time I would have said, if Ohio State plays its very best, plays great, plays an A game, all of that is laser focused and the intensity is as high as it needs to be, that Ohio State still may not win the game. I don't know when the last time I would have made that statement, but that's certainly possible. But if they don't come with the intensity, if their heads are out of the game, if they don't have the confidence, I think they're lacking confidence. I think their confidence has taken a hit. Then they could get blown out. Yep.
And they deserve to be the 4th seed. Like, I think they got the right 4 teams. I think there is a debate between 1 and 2 of Georgia and Michigan.
Yeah.
But they got the right 4 teams in there. So Ohio State should be playing as that 4th seed. So they definitely deserve to be in the playoffs.
I will ask you this before I let you go. If the fourth quarter against Michigan did not exist, if the game was over after 3 quarters, even if they would have lost, would you think all of this?
Probably.
Okay. They outplayed Michigan, substantially outplayed them in the first half.
They did, but at the same time, I said the same thing against Notre Dame with Ohio State. Hell, I thought at times against Maryland was the more physical team.
Yeah, I agree.
So, and I think Maryland's front 7 is horrible. So
Northwestern was the more physical team.
Exactly. That's all you need to know. But Mark, thanks for taking my call. If I don't reach out to you before Christmas, Merry Christmas, and hope you have a fun time watching bowl games.
Merry Christmas, McD. We always appreciate you stopping by. All right. Yeah, I'm not going to make some outlandish bold prediction about Ohio State showing up and pulling off an upset in this game, but they are certainly capable of it. If Ohio State beats Georgia, I will be the least shocked of anyone. I'll be like, okay, they finally showed up and played. I'm not predicting it. Maybe I will predict it. We'll see. But the bottom line for me is I know who Georgia is. I know who they're going to be when they show up on New Year's Eve. I don't know what I'm going to get out of Ohio State. Welcome in the voice of college football. Who's on the line?
Hey, Mark, it's Dominic. How you doing, Mark?
Dominic, what's going on?
How
you been?
I've been good. Just, signing day. The one I was focused on all day was Alabama. I mean, the players they signed, look out for them in that All-State Sugar Bowl against Kansas State.
Well, you understand the players that they signed today cannot play in that game.
Oh, right. Yeah.
But yes, it was an impressive talent haul by Alabama once again.
Indeed it was. But I figured that since signing day is out of the way, I want to get to the a bowl game that I'm willing to could be good. The Goodyear Cotton Bowl Classic, Tulane and USC.
Yes.
Man, Tulane, they deserve to be in this bowl game because they've definitely shown what they're capable of this season. Like, their O-line has been really consistent, and it's been like that all season. So I feel like even though USC is favored to win, I think Tulane could put up a good fight. What do you think?
Well, USC is only favored by 1 or 2 points for one thing.
Yeah.
USC is certainly a better team if everyone's healthy, engaged, and ready to play, but not by much. Tulane was clearly the best team in the American Conference, and the one shot that they got at a Power 5 was on the road against Kansas State, and they won that game against a team that went on to win the Big 12 championship. So I think Tulane's got a definite shot in this game.
Yeah, but don't forget their defensive line. It is just, in my opinion, it is stacked. It is good. So I feel like USC's O-line, they're up for a challenge against that Tulane defense.
Okay, you've been scouting the Tulane defensive front.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, Tulane's a heck of a team. They are the best of the Power 5 or the Group 5, not just because they made this bowl game, but they truly are.
Right. So I'm willing to see what they got against USC. So, all right. Well, thanks for taking your time, Mark, and have a good night.
Absolutely. We appreciate you being here. Have a good night.
Thank you.
All right. Before we talk to Exploring with Ben, a few Michigan fans are taking umbrage with what I said about the first half of the Ohio State-Michigan game. I didn't use the word dominate. I don't use that word much at all because that word's used way overused. I hear this all the time. There's like a 28-20 game. Well, they dominated them. No, they didn't dominate them. Do you understand what the word dominate means? Go look it up in the dictionary. Dominate. No, they outplayed them. They played better. They won the game. No, it was not dominant. Nor did I state that Ohio State was dominant in the first half. I said they outplayed Michigan. They clearly outplayed Michigan. That's the term that I used. All right. We got Ben on the line, shaking his head.
I can't even escape you, and I'm across the ocean.
Well, that's a good thing. That's a good thing. It reminds you that the voice of college football is always around somewhere.
And my YouTube algorithms are, constantly just Mark Rogers is live. Mark Rogers is live.
Yeah, that's what happens when you subscribe to like 49 channels.
Well,
sorry.
Sam's not even subscribed, and he gets your notifications too. He clicked on one video. He clicked on one video, and he gets it all the time. He's like, "Why am I getting?"
Maybe YouTube's working for me just a little bit.
Oh, I see. Clint is in here now too. Go Beavers! Good win. I mean, amazing win for the Beavers. Amazing win. That was embarrassing.
Yeah, that was impressive. From the
Kirby's Visor made a good comment earlier about how Dan Lanning seems to be showing his closing skills at recruiting because it was an impressive little haul he got today. Even after Dante Moore, decommitted, he still pulled another 4-star quarterback with Will Stein's help, of course, and then got the, DJ's younger brother, the other Uiagalelei. That's a big boy for a defensive end.
Yeah, Dan Lanning. How about that? Getting the job done. Yeah.
And I'm not going to sit here and talk. I mean, it's damn 3:30 in the morning here where I'm at.
Ooh,
what do you think on your end, though, Mark, the Pac-12 will have to do as not just because of your conference ratings or rankings that you have and a bunch of other stuff. What do you think the Pac-12 would have to do in the bowl season to really solidify those types of rankings or improvement? Because, the last few years have been rather abysmal when it comes to the bowl season. Because that's where those rankings come from, is non-conference, win-losses overall, and then bowl games, obviously against non-conference teams. So
I am not looking, at conference games. And somebody could do this, but I just throw it all out because I figure, well, every conference from top to bottom goes 500. So this is only showing us the distribution of the power within the conference. So I throw all those out and just go with the non-conference games. Exactly. So I'm sure everybody's watched those videos, of course. But even if you haven't, I've got the Pac-12 ranked right now at number 3 out of 5.
Which I think is more than fair. I have no problems with that ranking at all.
But I do believe 2, 3, and 4 they're like bunched up. So I could have them number 2. I could have them number 4. I think those 3 are extremely close. So you are looking for the Pac-12 to move up even further.
Or at least solidify that spot. Like as we increase, the differences. So, the Pac-12 would have to go, at least 500 or,
Well, sure. But I'm looking at a season in which the Pac-12 could go 5-2, 4-3. I think it's reasonable to think. I think that most of the matchups are pretty favorable.
Yeah, Washington State didn't help, but they were going against a very good Fresno State.
Mm-hmm.
So that didn't help. But the Beavers beating down Florida like that. Yeah.
My opinion of the Pac-12 has not changed hardly at all based on those 2 results.
Oh, yeah, we're just about to get into the thick of it.
Yeah.
This is still the early bowl season, which unfortunately I'm going to have to try to stream the UNC game from either France or Amsterdam, wherever I'm going to be at that point. I'm not even sure what day it's going to be, so that's going to suck. But, yeah, it's going to be a fun bowl season. We still got a lot of games to go. We're just getting into the thick of it. I'm really looking forward to that, as you were just talking about, the Alabama-Kansas State game. I'm actually really looking forward to that game.
I am as well. We've got that on January 2nd. So the Rose Bowl is one of my top 5 bowls. Looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to the potential of a shootout between Oregon and North Carolina, but I do think the Ducks are substantially better. So I don't expect it to be a close game, but I could see some crazy 48-31 score.
Yeah. Obviously, Sewell has not said if he's playing as linebacker, if he's coming back or not yet that I'm aware of. Nix is coming back, obviously, as quarterback for the bowl game and for next year. Gonzalez went to the draft, our number 1 corner. So it will be interesting because if, as we saw in the Clemson game, UNC Clemson, their conference championship, if you can put pressure on May and not give him time, it kind of throws him off. But if we can't, then I could see definitely I'm expecting a pretty high scoring game. I was the same rating with you, 49, 48 to 40-ish maybe type of game. You never know what's going to happen.
Yeah, I don't think that North Carolina is an exceptional football team. They're talented on offense and they have issues on defense, but sometimes these teams come out completely different 6 weeks later, removed from the season. So we'll see how that turns out.
Yep, exactly. I was about to end about to end it for you because I'm not going to take much of your time. But I want to say, hey, Will, thanks for that running back. Also, by the way, all we need is more running backs at Oregon.
Running back. I corrected somebody earlier because I thought they were talking about a safety.
We took a good cornerback, I think a safety, and then we took Notre Dame's running back, and then we took the four. I don't remember what position rank he was, but he was the Rhode Island O lineman too.
Okay,
so
check into that.
we thank you, Will, for that. And yeah, thanks, Uncle Phil. All right, Mark, you have a good one.
Thank you, Ben. Appreciate you. All right. Yeah. Will says you were dead to me. Quack Phil Knight and his. Yeah. So I did not see the running back. That must be Dante Dowdle. All right. Then we also have DeAndre wants to know what the link is. So I'm actually hanging out waiting on Nebraska, Iowa, and Oklahoma media to jump on here and deliver. And I got to say, I'm not going to be extremely patient because we've been on here since 11 o'clock this morning. But here we go, DeAndre. You can join the show. You know what's going to make, well, I'll say what's going to be a contributing factor into making these live streams and these call-in shows last a little bit longer when I get a chair that is ergonomically just flat out better, where my neck and my back aren't killing me at this point. There we go. Here's DeAndre. DeAndre, what's going on tonight?
No, you can put it down here. Mark, how you doing?
I'm good. What are you going out to take out the trash, or what are you doing?
Just walking to my car. So let me ask you a question. I was in a conversation with the Clemson guys. So, and I want to phrase it right, and it might not come out right at first. We were talking about quarterbacks in California, and I wanted to know, and I don't know if you heard us talking about it. Can you, I know the kid out of Alabama, but can you tell me a quarterback who has came out of California to live up to expectations? When I say that, I know people say, well, Jared Goff and Alex Smith, but they wasn't expected to do what they did. Aaron Rodgers, all of them had to go to junior college, right? Somehow, some form, correct?
Okay, so you're not talking about somebody who overachieved. You're talking about like a top, big-time guy, and then he came through.
Right. Yeah, Mark. I know the kid out of not Georgia, Alabama.
Well, I'm going to say one thing that while I have a good memory when it comes to the NFL and NFL history, and also a good memory when it comes to where players went to college, and maybe this comes from not being a big recruiting guy, I don't really lock in on where these guys started, like where they played high school ball. So what is the point
that's all
that you're trying to make?
Well, you look at and there was a Pacific school, Josh Rosen, DJ Uiagalelei.
Okay.
I think Clawson all came out the same high school and they were highly ranked. John Bosco, and I was saying how they had underperformed in their careers, and you know, all of them two of them went to the NFL, and I'm assuming DJ is going to go too, but they didn't live up to the hype coming out of college. I mean, coming out of high school.
Well, how far are we going back?
Well, I would think about modern times because I can't tell you
modern times.
1990.
Okay.
Well, when I say that is okay. When I say that 2001 is probably when I first started seeing the college football high school rankings. That's the first time I ever can remember it being there.
So what is your point about California high school quarterbacks not developing? DeAndre, you with us? All right. Let's keep it going here at the Voice of College Football. We're going to talk some Nebraska now. And we got our guy on the line, Greg Peterson from Husker Online. We are thankful for Greg showing up here. There we go. Greg, what's going on tonight?
Hello, sir. Yeah, we're bracing for the storm. We're getting here, so
It must be a bad week for you, Greg. You got to put up with me 2 consecutive nights.
hey, no, that's the highlight of my week. Come on, brother, you know that.
So when is the big storm supposed to hit?
It's already hitting.
Okay, because ours is coming like overnight, late Thursday, so late tomorrow night into Friday. Yep.
Yeah, the snow's falling now. It's getting slicker than snot out. But we'll see. It's the big stuff's not supposed to hit until about 11 Central or so.
Okay.
But, tomorrow is supposed to be extremely nasty. So.
And nice and windy.
We got business all done today, so we can hunker down.
Yeah, hunker down is right. And nice and windy, I'm guessing, right?
It's the wind just started picking up. Yeah. It's going to be 35-mile-an-hour winds tomorrow.
Yeah.
So we're talking minus, 45, 50 minus wind chill. So it's not going to be pleasant.
Yeah, this is hitting all over the place. Like I was talking to somebody in Texas today. They're getting all ready for a blast and talking to this is one of these just massive deals that covers almost the entire country when it sweeps through.
Hey, I mean, I got friends up in northern Minnesota, and it's already been just horrible there. And obviously South Dakota has gotten hammered. These guys got it way before most of the rest of us. So all right, that's our weather report for the night, huh?
Yeah, there it is. Now the Matt Rule report. What did he have to say today? Because I know that after we got into National Signing Day, I saw a couple more commits come through.
Yeah, I mean, it ended up being a pretty good day. I'd say all in all, with Matt Rule and again, a very impressive performance by him at the podium, and it's just amazing how he could close on some of these guys. And he's a guy that he's blunt, but he's not gonna screw around with you. He's gonna tell you the truth and speak from the heart. And I all in all, I think he did a great job today, just closing on a bunch of guys. He flipped some guys, and he landed Malachi Coleman too,
yes.
Which was huge. So, he dominated in state, and apparently it looks like there were some problems that, you had 22 commits. Now it's back down to 21. So I have to look into that. And 6 transfers right now in the early signing period.
Mm-hmm.
And, I thought it was interesting too that Matt Rules, he said, last time I was doing this, there was a limit on scholarships that you can now offer out. He's like, now it's there isn't. So, bottom line is that he's not, and he even said it himself that, he's not out there just trying to fill a class out with guys that, he doesn't have faith in and doesn't fit his culture. And very interesting enough is that, he's getting commits from kids that knew him, that a lot of these guys, he chatted with them when they were in 9th grade and stuff, or younger brothers of guys that played for him and stuff. So, it was really impressive. Just an eye-opening, signing day press conference, in my opinion, that we haven't been used to around here. That, he's right there on the spot on every question asked. And even, the SID was trying to cut him off, and he still kept answering questions. He's like, wait a minute, we had another one over here. And he's just a breath of fresh air, just a really true professional.
Yeah, so who were the guys that flipped? I was trying to track those guys. I saw a couple alerts come down, and I saw Nebraska on the commitment list.
Yeah, you did have the Syracuse guy had been the last commit who had flipped, and now he's not showing up on the list anymore. I'm not sure. I've been really busy here. I don't know if I missed that. I mean, the last one was they pulled in Texas A&M transfer defensive. Oh, excuse me, Elijah Judy.
Okay.
Here's what we had. Barry Jackson flipped to Cincinnati from Nebraska. That's what we lost. Okay. Now I'm catching up. So he was the track star. Or no, I'm sorry. I'm mixing him up with somebody else. Now I get the hiccups also. But yeah, he'd been committed for a while, since July 2nd. So I don't know. There was something there at the end, but I don't know. I don't figure that as much of a loss there. It doesn't detract from the rest of what Matt Rule did, obviously, today, which I thought he did a yeoman's job. And especially when, he still hasn't rounded out his class yet. And he hasn't rounded out his coaching staff yet. That's the amazing thing, is that you still have a couple positions left to fill on your coaching staff.
When Matt Rule talks about his approach to recruiting and gets asked questions like he did today at National Signing Day, does he talk about what his mission is, what his philosophies are, what his approach is that makes it a bit different than everybody else?
Well, like I kind of mentioned, that he's very forthright on everything he says. He's a guy that comes off to me like he doesn't have anything to hide. Like a lot of coaches that you kind of see that like to dodge questions. But he is very solid on his philosophy. He knows what works. He knows what works for him. That's the main thing. And he knows what kind of guys that he wants on his coaching staff that have the same vision and the same philosophy. And, this is the first time that we heard from him, being asked about retaining Donovan Raiola, which was very interesting to hear. And we talked a little bit last night about that, that he kind of fit his mold. But actually, Donovan Raiola trained, was a GA under one of Mark Rule's guys. So he knows the system. He knows what Mark Rule wants to do. And that was like the thing. And then, after he'd interviewed him, and, got to know him a little bit and, told him straight up, I'm going to be interviewing a lot more guys. And when it came down to it, that he really liked Donovan Raiola and his background and has, and one of the key things about it too, is that he had said that, he has never, he always asks, when he's ever been in a position like this, he asks the actual players what they think of him. And across the board, they all love, what Donovan Raiola was doing this year. And even guys that are leaving the program even had high praise for him. So, that goes a long way. And I think that was the deciding factor, is that, I've talked to enough guys. This is my guy. And he also, he actually kind of liked the Nebraska offensive line, obviously, national perspective and Husker fan perspective is how bad the offensive line was. But you know what? When you actually have an identity, things are different. Nebraska never had an identity all season. When you had, after Mickey Joseph had taken over as interim coach, and he wanted to run the ball more and slow things down. But then, your offensive coordinator that's actually running the show on offense is a pass guy. So, when Nebraska was trying to run the ball, the offensive line was performing pretty well. So, and they've added some new guys into the fold. That guys are, he even mentioned too, is like the first phone call he made was to Brock Knudsen, the longtime commit out of Scotts Bluff, who's an absolute monster of an athlete at 6'9", that that was a priority for him as soon as he got here. That he wanted to make sure and he called him and he said, "Hey, coach, I'm committed to Nebraska 100%. It doesn't care. I don't care who recruited me here. I wanted to play for Nebraska my whole life." And you've seen that. I mean, how great they did in state this year. I mean, obviously you lost a couple. You can't take them all. But and this was it was one of the better years that you're going to see out of the state of Nebraska as a recruiting class as a whole. And he hit a home run with the in-state guys.
How many of these guys have you seen? Did you see all the in-state guys in person when you were going on your various trips?
I have seen them all. Brock Knudsen was one guy I did not get a chance to see since he's 7 hours away basically. But he was here in Lincoln week 0 when I was in Dublin. So I had my intern Blake go shoot him when he was playing Lincoln Pius. So I've seen our own film of him. And I've interviewed him. He came to Lincoln last February and we sat down with him and did an interview. But that was the one guy I have not seen play in person out of the whole in-state hall of guys.
All right, Greg. Well, I know it was a long day. I appreciate you sitting down with us for a few minutes.
That's why I feel bad for being late. I mean, I've been got a garage door that won't open now all of a sudden, and it's just been a pain in the butt. Not great timing for that.
No.
I had to leave it open for my wife to get home, and she comes down to my office as I was just getting ready to come on here. She's like, "Did you leave the door open for me?" I'm like, "Yes. If I would have shut it, you might not have gotten your car in here tonight, and it'd be covered in snow and ice."
So if you shut the door, you don't know if it's going to open.
I figured out how to get it. It's a really strange deal. Even if I disconnect it from the garage door opener, it still won't open. But if I can get it open a little bit from the inside, I can go outside and then push in on it and muscle it up as the motor's working. But it's just not great timing for all this. Took me 5 minutes just to get it open, just so I could run to Walgreens real quick here when I was on.
All right, Greg. Well, have a good night and stay warm and stay safe and hunker down. And we got National Signing Day under our belts, so you can hopefully take it easy a little bit tomorrow.
Hey, we're going to try. I mean, still got work to do tonight, but, tomorrow maybe we'll just enjoy a day off for a change. That's not bad.
Yeah, I got you. I'm right there with you.
You need one, bro. You do.
Yeah, we'll get there. All right, Greg. Appreciate you, man.
Hey, no problem.
Thanks for doing this.
Always my pleasure. I love it. You know that.
Absolutely. We'll see you.
Happy holidays to everybody.
Yes. Merry Christmas. Happy holidays to you, sir.
Thank you.
It's our guy, Greg Peterson. If you have yet to see him, joins us every Tuesday on our Nebraska channel for Husker Talk every Tuesday at 7 Eastern. So I believe what we are going to do is, if no one shows up here in the next minute or so, we are going to call it a night for National Signing Day. I was possibly expecting Jason Ray from Last Word On. Jason Ray from our Oklahoma post game here at the Voice of College Football on the Oklahoma channel, and also possibly Corey Bratta from the Hawkeye of the Storm to stop by. But I think we are going to call it a night. All right. We went live at 11 a.m. Eastern time, and we will go live and record some more National Signing Day reports on Thursday. So be locked in for that. Moderators, I appreciate you being here. I see Cheryl in the chat. One Scoop John's been here several times today, not just here, but on the team channels. All of you are amazing. Exploring with Ben was joining us at 4 a.m. And you guys are amazing. We appreciate you being here. And for all the teams, not all the teams, I'm not going to be able to hit every team in the country, but there were a number of media folks that got back to me, but said that they would need to jump on Thursday. So be looking out for our schedule on Thursday. Guys like Brian Driscoll with Irish Breakdown is jumping on board. And we've got Anthony Dasher from Rivals to talk Georgia. He's going to be on Thursday as well. So we're not done with National Signing Day and all the recruiting reports. More to come. If you have yet to check out our live streams on the Florida State, Michigan, and Miami channels, those guys delivered as well on National Signing Day. So we appreciate you being here, and we will see you on Thursday right here at the Voice of College Football. Joe, your ear must be extremely keen. You can hear that, huh? Yeah. I don't have a sore throat. Just the voice is about shot after talking for about 12 hours consecutively. All right, everyone. Appreciate you being here. One Scoop, John, you're amazing being here in the chat and encouraging everyone with everything that you do. If you shop Amazon, of course, I know that Christmas is just about here and you've probably already done your Christmas shopping unless you're late like me and you want to do the one-day delivery, or there's going to be a ton of returns, of course, and more shopping for cheap deals after Christmas. So when you shop Amazon, please use the link that we provided in the description section of the videos. So go to any video right there in the description section under the video, grab the Amazon link, put it somewhere where you will remember it, and doesn't cost you an extra penny, doesn't cost you any additional time, same shopping experience. We would appreciate it. Again, we will be back on Thursday in various forms on various channels right here at the Voice of College Football.